6, 5,
Easy.
4, 3.
I'm Chad Taylor, and you're here on the Mentor Empire podcast set. This is Human Connections, episode 2, if you will. And actually, we're not even calling them episodes. We're just calling them Human Connections. That was the whole purpose. I got a special guest here today. Her name is Noelani Durant. And I can't even remember, Noelani. How many years has it been since we met?
It'll be 6 in April.
6 years.
6 years in
Time
April.
flies. It feels like 10, but it's only been 6.
I know.
So, welcome
Thank you.
to the Mentor Studio. You know a little bit about this.
Oh, a little.
We've been waiting to come on here for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Keep hitting me up on Facebook, and I see her. I can't wait
Yep.
for a long time now. And I had a way I wanted to do this, and like an outline of the episodes and the people, and kind of how it flowed. And then after I kept seeing you online, and we were talking, your excitement to get in here overcame me. I was like, I can't wait, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring her in. So I asked my daughter. I said, McKenna, do you mind if I have Noelani come in?
Oh.
And she goes, absolutely.
That's my
So,
girl.
just to give a little background to the viewers,
Mm-hmm.
about 6 years ago, you and I met.
Yes.
I had received a phone call from a young man's mother, I believe, and said that her son was having some trouble. And I might not remember this correctly, but you have to tell me. But her son was in some trouble. He was living on the streets, and I feel like you were surprised when I showed up.
No.
No?
No. I was scared.
I got 2 for 1.
I
No,
knew
I thought-
knew you were coming.
Yeah.
We were kind of scared of change, of
Yeah.
course. But I was willing. I was like, well, I hope this will work because
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I can't. I'll have to think back a little bit more about that. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I showed up to help, to work with him, and there was 2 of you instead of 1. So at
Yeah.
that moment, we were like, okay, let's go with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that's how we met. So before we get into that, what I really want to do is get into a little bit of your upbringing, and then
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about where you ended up,
Okay.
which ultimately brought us to the point of where we met.
Right.
And then I want to hear a little bit after we met, what did that look like for you? It's just kind of a rounded out your story, because you've done so well. And just so everybody knows is, well, I won't even say it. I'll let you explain it. But you had a pretty rough start, and you've overcome
Yeah.
so much. So I think that
Oh, yeah.
everybody's interested in hearing that. So why don't you just go ahead and start talking and tell me what it was like.
Okay.
Growing up, start when you're young. Give us a
Well,
little.
I was born and raised in Las Vegas.
Okay.
I was born to Dee Dee Lynn Durant. My mother had epilepsy, so
Okay.
the amount of grand mal seizures that she did have caused her some brain damage to where she wasn't able to read or write. She had comprehension disabilities, which was passed on to me. We'll talk about that later. But she wasn't able to raise me. My grandma did.
Okay.
From birth. My grandma and my aunt, everybody kind of had a hand in it.
Where was Dad at that point?
Well, I was conceived on New Year's Eve
Okay.
at a party.
Got it.
They didn't know each other. They were drunk and young, and
I too showed up at a party with my dad and left with my mom at one point, just so you know you're not alone.
Good to know. Yeah. So I finally got to meet him when I was 17.
Got it.
We'll get there.
So he wasn't around.
No,
So,
no,
so you
my whole life,
remember.
no.
Okay.
My aunt's husband, he kind of filled in,
Okay.
let me call him Dad, bought me my first Barbie, taught me how to ride my bike,
Awesome.
did all that dad stuff, and I'm very, very thankful for him.
Good.
He was good people. He still is. So where am I?
So
I'm born.
Yeah. So when do you start remembering? 10 years
Um,
old, 8 years old? Like what's
oh,
about
no.
the time where you start having memories of what's going on? Life in general.
About first grade.
First grade.
Um,
How old are we in first grade?
6.
6.
6.
Okay.
6 or 7, somewhere around there. I was held back a little, so I'm not quite sure of the age range.
All right.
But I was living with my grandma
Yeah.
and her boyfriend, and some things happened with her boyfriend that weren't too great. So I had to grow up a little fast.
Got it.
I learned some things I shouldn't have.
Right.
And then my mother, she was she was beat to death by the cops when I was in 5th grade, and she died.
I think I remember you telling me about that.
We did the whole wrongful death suit.
Right.
Peter Goldstein was our lawyer. He was amazing. I couldn't have done it without him.
Okay.
He helped me and Grandma and everybody get all that done. So there I am in 5th grade, and I knew how my mom died and everything, and they threw me into DARE, and I didn't like the cop. I let him know.
Yeah, I can't
you
imagine,
I was upset, and so I didn't really have that. I kind of sat outside and didn't do the DARE thing, like everybody did, because I didn't want to stare at him, But
what grade was this?
5th.
5th grade.
Yep.
Okay.
Then I get through that, and I have a seemingly normal teen years, like 10 to 16 when my grandma died. I
Okay.
didn't smoke pot, didn't drink with my friends. I wasn't the girl with the vodka and the water bottle at school.
Right.
I was a good girl. I went and shot pool with my friend Cheryl every Thursday. She was my little best friend from 6th grade to high school, to the end of high school. I still talk to her mom, we just kept each other going, and then Grandma died, and I've been on my own since.
Is your friend still around?
Yeah, Cheryl, yeah.
Okay.
We still talk, life kind of got in the way, of,
We change as we get older.
yeah, we do. But she's still there.
Okay. Good.
Um,
So you said up until about 16 years old.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it sounds like there was some early on with, again, one of the reasons that we're here and I do this is everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Everybody has some sort of trauma that they deal with, some at a young age that's obviously just not okay in any
Right.
way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But it happened. And ultimately to try to not live a victim lifestyle, which nobody's ever
Exactly.
taught.
No.
But maybe we can start teaching that is you got to overcome that stuff, and there's that trauma, and it starts causing, it's created filters, and it's created ways that you manage and cope and deal with people in society.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you found a way to tuck it away.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there was some good years.
Yeah.
And then you said up until, but you lost your mom, you lost your grandma.
Yeah.
So you basically lost anybody in a
Yeah.
mentorship role or someone to guide you.
Yeah.
And grandma passes away, and so what happens now? You're 16?
I'm 16. I go to live with my aunt and my 3 cousins. Now, mind you, my whole life I grew up with my cousins there. Like, they were my siblings. I'd come home from kindergarten, teach them their ABCs, and I'd come home, I'd teach them everything I learned in school, and taught them how to ride a bike, and did everything,
Right.
They were my best friends, and so I moved in with them, and I had a lot of anger. My aunt had to pull the plug on my grandma.
Right.
So I had a lot of anger,
Right.
a lot of, I blamed her, I guess, I would say. But we all know that there's times that, come on, you have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't want to let the person suffer, and I'm 16, I'm not registering that my whole world, everything I've ever known, just died, and so
Yeah.
I ran away.
Wow.
I was a runaway, I was from friend to friend, couch to couch, and being a minor and a runaway is not easy because nobody wants you there because that's a liability. So I'm hopping
Right.
around, and
And this is here in Vegas.
here in Vegas, yeah.
Okay.
And finally I landed. I listened to a band called Drainage X from the time I was 14. It used to drive my grandma crazy. Well, I went to hang out with them one time and got close to them. And here I am homeless, and I reached out for help, and they came and picked me up and took me to their house. And there I lived for years. I got to tour a few times, got to play the main stage at the Gathering. I mean, these are things that, the Gathering of the Juggalos. These are
Right.
things that are kind of hard to do.
Right.
People just dream about the things I've done, music-wise. So
So this is 16 to 18?
yeah, I've had a
Okay.
great life so far. And then I get pregnant with my son,
At 18?
and at 19. I'm
19.
19 and I get pregnant with my son, and
What's your son's name? Ethan. I knew that.
Ethan Aaron. Yes. I get pregnant with Ethan, and me and the dad don't get along too well. We split, and then my son, fast forward, my son's 3 months old. We go through a custody battle, and it didn't work out in my favor.
Right.
And so there I was, sitting at a friend's house, and that's when
So
it
you're
was a couple days after
so you're
court.
19 years old.
Yep,
You've lost everybody important to you,
yep,
and now you've lost another one.
yep. And that's when I picked up meth for the first time. Was a few days after that, and yeah, it goes from there.
I think that's very telling. When you look back on it now, can you see it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Most everybody I say, drugs is covering something up,
yep.
and you were fixing something and covering it up.
Filling a void.
And I love that you're not a sobbing ball of tears right now, which you have been in the past. We've done that years ago, but it's because you've done so well coming
done
out of
well,
that.
yeah.
But those are heavy times. I mean,
Oh,
by
yeah.
the time you were 19 years old, you dealt with probably 10 things that most children would never even understand, right?
Yep.
And that's important. And did you think you had anywhere to turn? There was where was there to go? Did you have somewhere to turn but chose not to?
No,
Just empty.
just, yeah. At
There's
that
no-
point, once I lost my son, I didn't care, really. I
Right.
mean, I decided when he was still here that was my best, that was going to be my reason.
Right.
And then and then everything happened, and then, it didn't work out in that, fashion, but
So you're 19 years old. This happens. You start meth.
yeah,
So from 19, what age were you when we met?
it was 2017. I think I was 27, 26.
26, I think. Yeah, just a couple years. I have an age group like
Yeah,
16
I was a
to
couple years
24.
over the age limit.
Right, you're a couple years over the age limit, but
Yeah.
but your big eyes that looked very close to death, I could not say no to.
Yeah.
I remember showing up and being like, "Well, you're kind of out of my age group, but
I
let's
was
give it a shot."
tired.
And it's a good thing we did at that point, because I just read an article yesterday, believe it or not, about the functioning and the forming of the brain, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason that I work with 16 to 24.
Right.
And that's because the the brain is still developing. And there's still a
Okay.
chance to change some of those habits and adjust some things before we get into adulthood. But there's actually studies out now saying that it's closer to 30 years old, which I find funny. I'm no psychologist by any means, but I think it worked out as it should. So you're on the streets for, from 19 to 25, 26?
Mhm.
So 5-6 years solid?
Well, I would say, so after I started doing the drugs, I was kind of like off and on at my aunt's house, and then I got with Brian and Wright. I'll say his name. He's passed on.
Okay. Yet another one.
Yeah, a boyfriend, and
Right.
we're kind of doing drugs together and everything. He had a lot of mental issues. He was accidentally shot and killed by his brother. I was there. And then we had to go through the whole court case, make sure my brother didn't get, I call him my brother because that's my family. To
Right.
this day, we're still very close.
Right.
We had to make sure that he didn't get in trouble because it was an accident. It wasn't
Right.
at all, so I dealt with that. And that's kind of when I
What age was this?
went 21.
21.
And that's when I went into
and
the
you're li-
8 ball a
and-
day, to the hardcore, like doing drugs and
So
being
went
homeless.
from speed. Did it go right into heroin
I never did
immediately?
heroin.
Never did heroin?
No, just speed.
Got it.
Just- Yeah.
So speed and so you're 21. You're legal now,
Yes.
and you're in Las Vegas. You're
Yes.
21 years old.
Yes.
So, are you living couch to couch still? You got yourself an
Yeah.
apartment. What are you doing?
I stayed with his mom and his family for. I had a room there for a year and a half after
Okay.
he passed. But I was off running around. I didn't stay in one place. And then they sold the house. And just kind of was stuck, out there again. And
Nowhere to go, and
yeah, I ended up hanging out over off of Nellis and something closer to Boulder Highway.
Right.
And that's kind of where I met friends and people that would get me high.
yeah.
That had my back somewhat, or didn't. I thought they did. So
Outside of the absolute travesties that you've had to deal with all the way up until this point,
yeah,
which are enormous in themselves, what was Boulder Highway like here in Las Vegas?
scary.
Yeah, you've told me some stories, and you don't
Very
have to
scary.
elaborate on anything if you don't want to, but you've told me some things you saw down there that were would pretty much tear anybody's mind up.
Yeah. I was one of the lucky ones. There wasn't any prostitution or anything going on my end. No, meaning by knocking anybody at all.
Right.
Everybody has their own struggles. Everybody has their own hustle. I don't,
Of course.
But it was more of I didn't care. I was just making it through the day. I lived off of the dollar packs of cookies at Walgreens and a lot of methamphetamine.
Really.
And I was molested in my sleep a few times, held against my will a few times, almost lost a front tooth, just a lot of things, a lot of horrible whatever, but
23 and 24 years old.
25, yeah.
25.
Yeah, all of it. And it just, I didn't know what to do. And then it got to a point where I sat down and had a conversation with this girl. And she told me, she goes, well, what are you getting high for? And I said, what do you mean, to get high? She goes, no. What are you getting high for?
Right.
Well, there's something in there. There's something going on. And I said, well, just tell me about your childhood, just as you did. And so I told her, and she goes, holy crap. So what?
Right.
She goes, honey, I sell myself on the street,
Right.
and I don't have a story like that.
Right.
She goes, that's why you're getting high. And then it got to the point where the drugs were no longer, it was I want to get high because I want to get high anymore. It was, I'll smoke a little bit so I can stay awake so I don't have to worry about where I'm asleep tonight. And it became a tool.
Or getting taken advantage of.
Exactly.
Right.
And I said I just need somewhere to be myself. I thought with the learning disabilities that I was born with that I couldn't work. So I thought, okay, well, if I could get somewhere where they'll let me stay there long enough to get my SSI and let me do my thing, I'll be okay. Well, nobody listened.
How many times did you try and reach out for help to anybody? Knowing that you didn't really have anywhere to reach out, did anybody ever reach out to you? Were there any groups and organizations?
My cousin Nathan, he would always tell me, you gotta get your stuff straight. You gotta get your stuff straight. He goes, wouldn't it be nice to have your own apartment to where nobody can kick you out? Wouldn't it be nice? I was like, yeah, but I don't think I'll be able to because every time I got a job, it wouldn't work out. So I just stopped trying to get jobs after a while.
Where was your mindset in your child at this point? How old is he now?
He will be 14 in June.
But he's 14 now, but at this point, at 26, 25, 26 on the street, how old is he? He's 6 years old?
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on where he's at? Is he safe?
I know he's safe.
Okay.
I know he's very well taken care of. A little bit toward the end of my journey out there, I was going to see him every weekend. I'd go stay the night, and be there. And that really fueled me to want to do better.
It was one of the first things you
So
said
I
to
looked
me.
in those blue eyes, and I was like, damn, kid. Damn.
You reached a point.
Yep. I was like, all right, if I got to do it for anybody, I'm going to do it for him. And then I was sitting there, and I was like, I got to do it for myself before I can do it for him.
Right.
And,
That was about the time we met.
yeah.
At some point right around there.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take a little break so we can cut a segment here real quick, and we're going to come right back.
Okay.
Brian, you want to cut it or you want to just keep roll?
5, 4,
Whoa.
3.
So I took a little break there. Give you a second. We were kind of coming to the moment when you and I met. So
Yeah.
so tell me the couple days leading up to the phone call that I received and what that looked like. And while I remember a lot of what happened, I think I've forgotten a lot of what happened. Right? I stay pretty busy,
Yeah.
and I just do whatever it takes to get the job done. And I'm pretty sure obviously you're sitting here, so we did something.
Oh, yes.
But I don't remember everything we did, so I'd really like to hear what'd that look like?
Well, I was sitting there and I was sitting across the street from my drug dealer, in a house with my boyfriend at the time and
Pull that mic just a little bit closer to you.
some.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
So some other people, and he goes, "Well, my mom talked to this guy, and he's like a do-gooder, and he's gonna help us." Well, okay, right. I was like, okay, well. He goes, "Well, we got to meet him. We're supposed to meet outside of Albertsons." We stood yet, and we didn't go. Then
That's right. I had to come back another time, didn't I?
Yeah.
I almost didn't.
Then we were laying
Wow.
there, and we were asleep. And the guy that was staying there, or that owned the house, he was throwing bicycle parts at the door. And like we opened the door, and he's holding a knife, and we were like, "Okay, we gotta go." And called you again, and you came and met us the next morning. And we fought all the way across the desert, walking to the park behind Sportsman's. And we sat on a rock and we ate. Somebody had given us a box of sandwiches and a case of soda, and we sat on the rock and we were eating and waiting for you to come. And here you come in a limo, okay? Just, I was like, this is not real. This isn't, come on. And sure enough, you were like, well, this is what's going to happen. We're going to take you to West Care. You're going to detox, and then we'll figure out from there. We're not going to go any further from that. We're just going to do that.
Was this the day that you guys were throwing rocks at each other?
Yes.
I remember you telling that story when I showed up. I have
Yeah.
a picture. I'm actually going to make it the cover of the thumbnail for this, but I have a picture the day that we picked you up. And you remember who was driving that vehicle?
Yes, I do. Like it was yesterday.
Steve.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I say?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love Steve. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's the best.
He's definitely a part of my journey.
There's nothing more amazing than, obviously we have a transportation and a limo
Yeah,
company, which is
yeah.
why we showed up in a limo, but
Yeah.
you get a phone call. You're right, the first time you stood us up.
Yep.
And the second time I said, Steve, I got that call again. These kids need some help. And to have a partner in business that will drop everything and jump in a car and take you
Right.
is a big deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always love that about him. We've been together for a long time.
Right.
But so we show up. You think it's unreal.
Yeah.
What's the first thing I tell you?
Just tell me the truth. Be honest with me. What's going on? Like what's your deal, girl?
Right.
And I was
What's
like,
your
all
deal?
right. And I was honest, and I got in the damn limo that day, and I never
With
looked
your
back.
current boyfriend at the time, or
Yeah,
who you're
yeah.
dating at the time, right?
Yeah.
Who was a younger man,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
in my age group. So
Yeah. We took off, went to West Care. He went to one facility. I went to the other.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't hold us together. But you had friends in the West Care system. At the time, you knew like the head person. I don't want to.
Yeah, the Mentor Empire
She was
has a lot of
amazing.
friends.
Yeah.
Not just your Chad,
Um,
but there's a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
When it's come to helping,
Yeah.
they all stand up.
And she, my main thing was separation anxiety from the person I was with.
I think I told you
So
something about
she
that
brought
too.
him to have lunch with me.
Mhm.
No touching, couldn't hug or anything, but to let me know that he didn't abandon me. He's still over there. Kept me. We did things outside of the box with us, and that's what worked. So we didn't follow a stereotype of, okay, so you're going to do the 12 steps, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I didn't go to a meeting. I never did any meetings. I did this because I wanted to do this.
Right.
I wanted a different life. I changed my nouns, and that's my big thing is you have to change your nouns. And you learn that in school. What are your nouns? People, places, and things. And if you change your people, places, and things
Mm-hmm.
to what you want them to be, and you can do that. It's easy.
It's like manifest destiny.
Exactly.
Make what you want.
I'm big on the secret. So
Good.
when it comes to
And I think, in hindsight now, talking to
Yeah.
you and listening to this again, is I probably said the worst thing to you I could have said at that time. It's funny, you still got in the vehicle, but I remember telling you and jeez, I'm going to have to cut that out. Sorry, guys.
yeah.
Let's go back to that. So I remember meeting you,
Mhm.
and in hindsight, I probably said something to you as the worst thing that I could have ever said to you, now hearing the story again, which is the two of you, I'm going to help the both of you, but I can promise you, you're not going to make this through it together,
Yeah.
right? You can't live this type of life together and then live a sober life together. It's just
Yeah.
not going to work. And in the life that you had had up to that point, where people leaving you was a real issue in one way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
that probably didn't come across right.
No, but I understood, because I had called rehabs. I had called, and they didn't take couples.
They won't take couples,
because
right?
it's not a thing.
Well, it doesn't work.
Well, what I was getting high for
Might.
was the abandonment issues.
Right.
That I needed to know that I had somebody who was going to be there, and he was still there.
Right, right.
So him being able to be there helped me.
So we facilitated that.
Yeah.
We facilitated a place that you guys could be and stay together.
Yep,
Which
we
was
sure
something
did.
that nobody else could do.
Nope. And actually, it was
Yeah.
we were handed basically the tools to mess up. And people don't realize that had happened. But we got out of West Care, and we met up and we went to a sober living. Well, they didn't put us in the house. They put us in the casita in the back.
That was the only way I could get you guys to be
Exactly.
together.
And had we not wanted to get better,
Yeah.
we could have easily not.
Yeah, I remember saying
And
that.
we didn't.
I remember you calling. I remember you calling me, and I said, "If you're gonna complain to me, now's the wrong time."
Yeah.
I think you want something bad enough. We obviously paid for it, right, just to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I said, if you want this is the chance you get.
Yep.
No lies, no
And
complaints. Just
We had
get it done.
structure.
Yeah.
The lady we were living with was a very thick Jamaican lady, really in her ways.
Right.
Sweet as can be. She had a lot of rules. She had a lot.
And you weren't used to rules.
I was not. I was not used to the structure. I was not used to the rules. But I ran with it. I had to be up by 7 to make my bed, be at breakfast, because she served breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you had to be there if you wanted to eat. So I'd have to get up at 7, make my bed, and go to breakfast. And then I was able to go back in the room and go to sleep, though. And that's what helped me.
The recovery
Was
process.
there was no, they let me get better.
They fed you well too.
They fed me very well. I was thicker than a Snicker. I think I went from 95 pounds to 150 overnight.
You look so healthy. I actually have a picture of you the day that we picked you up, and then 45 days into
Yeah,
it, and the smile
yeah.
in the eyes. I think I sent that to you.
Yeah.
You could see the
beautiful.
difference.
Oh, yeah.
You could just
I was
tell
a
you
whole
were
different person.
you were alive again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's feeding you. You're getting better.
Yeah.
You're making these decisions.
And then I threw myself into hundreds of hours of counseling, not meetings. Now, my theory on meetings might be unorthodox. People might not think it's the greatest, but my theory on meetings necessarily is if you're around people who are trying to get better and they slip up,
Hmm.
you are more inclined to slip up yourself. If you change your people, places, and things,
Right.
you start hanging out with people who are not on drugs. You start hanging out with people who have money. You start hanging out with people who have ambition, who have dreams, and who have things that you want. You will eventually have them because it will make you work harder for them. And that's exactly what I did. I changed my people, places, and things,
Right.
but I did not forget where I came from. But I changed it.
You did. You did amazing. I
Okay.
remember weekly living apartments
Yeah.
for some reason.
I was, after sober living, we moved into the Siegel Suites off of Bonanza and Lake Mead.
Yeah.
We're there, and it's a Sunday. And the man I was with before, he goes, it's time for you to get a job. I'm tired of, I can't do it on my own. And you can get a job, da-da-da. I was like, all right, well, I'll find a little telemarketing job
Yeah.
that I can, they'll probably fire me in 3 weeks, but at least I'll have 3 weeks of pay and I'll find another one.
Right.
Because that's always been my thing. I tried to do telemarketing, tried to do sales, and I never was good at it. But I knew there were jobs I could easily get.
Mhm.
And I wound up at Real Sports.
Aren't you
I
currently
was-
there?
I'm currently there.
So you've had a job for how long?
Almost 6 years.
So you had a street job for 6 years, and now you've had a real job for 6 years.
Yes.
Look at you. I love
I
it.
walked in on a Sunday, and my manager now, we'll call him Coco. His last name is DeCoco. He's amazing.
Right.
Him and Jeff hired me on a Sunday. They said, be here tomorrow.
Awesome.
And it's all right. Showed up, and I started as a dialer, and I was making $10 an hour. I thought it was the greatest thing on earth. $10 an hour is just fabulous, right?
It's better than
And,
no dollars an hour.
Right? And I was thinking, oh, this is great for a couple days. You know, I'll be here a couple weeks. I'll get, you know. Well, a few weeks turned into a few months. A few months turned into a few years. They've been my backbone since. I
And-
walked in a mess.
And productive work, I think one of the things we talked about as well in the first bit when I was there was that you're going to have productive work.
Yeah.
Idle
Yep.
hands, the devil's playground, they say, right?
Yep.
It has a lot of truth to it.
Yes.
So productive work is good for the soul, it's good for the mind. You know, it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be extremely challenging, you just have to keep yourself busy. That
And when
was
I-
very important.
And you told me one thing, and you always said, be truthful. So when I walked in to my job, you know, of course I didn't tell them that in the interview, but I got hired. And I went up to the boss and I said, hey, I'm in recovery. I'm only 4 months recovered.
Honesty.
I'm in extensive hours of therapy. I'm going to need, you know, you guys to work with my therapy schedule.
Didn't I drive you to a therapy place
Yes,
in
you did.
Sahara somewhere or something?
I remember my counseling. I went to the Healthy Foundation Center. Okay?
Yeah.
Shout out to them because they're freaking amazing. I showed up in a limo for my, and they all were like, "Who is this girl?" You know, they automatically
Right.
thought, "Oh, this Richie girl." You know, no, I'm not. I'm the furthest thing, but I needed help.
Beverly
And-
Hills is on Charleston for some therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
They definitely helped me. And so I let my bosses know, you know, what was going on and who I was, and their support and their love was amazing. One of my managers was actually, I think he was 10 years recovered at that time from his own demons
Right.
that he had fought when he started Real Sports.
Right. Bri, are we good? Brian, we're good? Cool. I heard a ding. Sometimes we lose the cameras.
Okay.
So the gentleman who hired you obviously knew what that looked like already.
Yes, yes.
So he was willing to hire you because he understood.
Very
and
much so.
probably, yeah, he understood it. So that's awesome.
And I mean, like the amount of love they poured into me was not of what a employer usually does. I remember I got a card.
Or
and
do they? I feel like this was your first job.
Technically, yes. Technically, yes.
So-
Longer. I mean, I've been at one for like a month, but no longer than that.
So really, it's hearsay that most employers don't
Exactly.
do. But maybe there's a whole bunch of them out there that do.
Right,
Got
right.
it.
So I remember getting a card and like a gift card and like a coin. I think he got me for my 100 days sober, and he was my cheerleader all along. I'm 6 months today. I'm a year, and on my 1 year clean, I had a barbecue,
I remember.
and you were there, and he was there. He had to leave early.
Yeah.
He's been there for me more than I could ever ask for. Jimmy Spatz, the owner, their patience with my anxiety, with my ADHD. I'm in and out of my chair more than I'd like to admit.
Right.
But they've molded me into what I am. My work ethic, being thrown into 6 days a week right off the bat.
Yeah, it kept you busy.
Oh yeah.
Good for you.
Oh yeah.
So how do you, looking back on it now, I mean, you got to be 30, 32 years old. I mean, you get...
33.
Yeah, you're 33 now? I'm thinking about when I was 33. So you're 33 and looking back on your life and what's happened and where you are and what's going on, what are some of the takeaways for you and what keeps you driving forward without, thinking about, I know you still have challenges and troubles and
Every day.
financially we talk and,
Yeah.
that's one promise I always made you is that I'd be there for you every day and help you with everything, but I will be there to answer your call,
Yep.
right?
Always, and you always have.
Yeah, I won't, once we start, we don't stop,
No.
right?
Right.
And then I guess I made up for the comment that I made the first day, which is, this guy's gonna leave you, sorry, he's gotta go. That makes a whole lot more sense now, too. Wow.
But hey, you know what? It worked out, and then
Yeah.
the better. Had that worked, I wouldn't be in the beautiful, beautiful, uplifting relationship that I'm in now.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you don't have to put anybody out there if you don't want to, but so you have a relationship with a gentleman now, and
Yes.
and you love it, it's good. And that's
I
filling
can't
your
even-
heart. Oh, you are gonna cry. Look at that. Love gets
No, I'm
us
not.
every time, doesn't it?
No, I'm not.
Don't worry. I
His-
cried through the whole first episode. with
His
my
name
wife.
is Charles. He's
The
my
best.
rock.
Nice.
The greatest compliment he's given me so far was I was telling somebody about my story, and he goes, "Babe, I totally forgot that you ever did drugs. Because I don't even look at you and he goes, you don't look like you used to do drugs. You don't look, like you're worn out or anything." He goes, I don't even think of you in that light."
Oh,
And I was like, okay.
that's helpful.
He is helpful. His whole being.
My wife told me in the last podcast that we did that I used to call myself a punk kid, all the way up to the point when I picked you up still,
I saw that, yeah.
and she wasn't wrong. So, I told you what I did. I do it because I'm selfish. It makes me feel good to help other people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And when you start telling yourself that you're someone different, it works. So for someone to kick you off that way and
Yeah,
say to
yeah.
you, they don't see what you've seen or what you think you see.
Yeah.
How's that make you feel these days? Like, how do you feel moving forward?
I've done a lot of self-healing. I'm nowhere near perfect. I still have my,
You're not perfect? Cut.
No.
Cut. We can't do this. Come on now.
I still have my, challenges.
Yeah.
I still get emotional. I've had some tragic things happen since I've gotten clean. I lost my mentor,
Which one's this?
Bobby Ross. He is my brother. I always post about him. Big
That's right.
Tank, my
Yep.
brother. Yeah.
Saw those posts.
We lost him January 8th of 2022.
And you didn't run. back
I
to
didn't
drugs?
run back to drugs. I didn't.
What kept you from that?
Him and my partner that I'm with now.
Okay.
The fact that I just don't want to do drugs anymore.
Okay.
That's a big factor. I feel guilty because a lot of people struggle years later. I was just done doing drugs, Chad. I don't miss it. I didn't dream of it. I didn't have a struggle. I was tired and wanted a place to live.
It's It's funny you say that, because I tell people, they say, "Well, what do you do exactly, Chad? We don't understand," and I don't understand either, right?
You're Batman.
It's funny you say that. If you can stop a locomotive, I think it's even funnier that Christy called me a speeding bullet train, but you can stop a train
Yeah.
with your pinky if you know where to press.
Yeah.
And there's something about people and fellow humans that when you see it and you feel it, you have to know when to press that button.
Yeah.
And I'd wondered why yours was much easier. I've worked with a lot of youth, and yours was, you made it look effortless. You
Yeah.
really did. Just from an outside perspective, I had no idea how you were doing so well. And that would explain it, that you were done.
Yeah.
And the moment you were done, somebody was there to listen. And that's something that I try and tell everybody these days is you can help people without giving up your life to go help them.
Exactly.
Right?
That's why I listen.
How many hours do you think that you and I have spent together over the past 6 years?
Maybe 5. Maybe. Okay, we'll call it 6. Maybe.
Maybe
Maybe.
6 hours.
Maybe. Well, you were
Right.
at the barbecue for like an hour and a half, something
That's
like
true.
that. So
Stop by the house.
You stopped by the house for like
Stop
an
by
hour.
the apartment.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys are okay.
Yeah, you stopped by and let Ethan play in the limo. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So over 6 years,
Yeah.
we've spent maybe 6 hours together.
Yeah.
And I want my people to hear that loud and clear. It's
Yeah.
because I didn't have to give up my life to help,
Exactly.
right?
Not
and,
at all.
nor did Steve. And it still helped,
Yeah. I've helped people from afar.
right?
I make a couple phone calls, send somebody their way, and I make the phone calls and make sure I stay on everybody, and I help from afar. I don't
Right.
ever have to put myself physically necessarily in it to help somebody. No.
Right.
I've done that. I've called you a couple times about people.
Yeah, we've talked on the phone a lot
Oh
more
yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
But you're very active, and you keep saying to me, it's I want to get back to this. So
Yeah.
we're going to cut another segment real quick. We're going to stop. We're going to break into the last segment here and
Okay.
get into some other stuff.
Okay.
And have you not call me Batman anymore. You're crazy.
You are
I can't wait
Batman.
till you tell me that story.
You are.
All right. Brian, let me know when we're ready.
In 6, 5, 4, 3.
All right, so we took a little break real quick, and then Brittany pulled the power on the building, so everything shut down. She's a pro. So let's just jump right into where you're living in the apartment and the weekly suites. They're not cheap, and let me just say one thing about that. As someone who helps people get housing and puts the younger adults in places, it's not a good system.
No.
It's expensive. I could rent a
Yes.
house for less than
Oh, yeah.
you guys are in the suites, and then you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to credit. I mean, we got to work on that in this town for sure. So,
Yes, definitely.
So you're there. You separate from your boyfriend at the time, and
Well,
you're
we
off.
moved into the apartment that I'm in now,
Oh, that's right.
and then we
Talked-
split ways. And I kept things going
Mm.
by myself
Mhm.
for years and years.
Yet again.
Yet again. And then fast forward, I meet Charles, and now I have a partner in life. Now I have somebody who wants a better life as much as I do, and who supports me and is teaching me about my credit. I now have a credit card, my first one. Okay.
Do you have a
So
credit
I have
score?
somebody who wants me to better myself and shows me the tools how to do it. Necessarily doesn't do it for me, shows me how to do it myself. And in that, I couldn't thank him for enough. My bosses help
Mhm.
as much as they can. You know, so I have a support system when I'm at work. I have a support system when I'm at home. I have all around. I mean, I have you. I have a lot of people who
Right.
I couldn't have done it without. Because here's the thing. If you have support and you have somebody to listen to you, and not just listen to what they think you need, but they listen to what you need, you can do anything.
Right.
You can overcome anything.
I think that's why a lot of the programs, everybody asks us, what's our program and what do we do?
Right.
And we don't have a program.
Exactly.
We do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
It's
We're
kind
all
of-
just trying to get home.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the story about, getting you and your boyfriend at the time into the place together. Nobody took that. If I had a program and I just stuck to the rules of my program, I could have never got you into a place where you guys could have been together and you could have
Exactly.
healed, and
Yep.
and that may have lost you.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
and that was my main factor was, are they going to help, will they help us together?
Right.
Because I thought at that time that's what I needed.
Right.
And it worked out. It completely worked out.
So do you find now, reflection-wise, looking back on everything,
Mhm.
I've seen you pretty active on social media,
Yeah.
posting what you post. Obviously, I see what you post, and I kind of watch and follow along from a distance. And you've started helping other people.
Yes, yes. My thing is, I want to be the person that I needed. And I listen. A lot of my friends come to me with things that they wouldn't go to others with, and I help them, as much as I can. I might not know the exact right thing to say, but who really does? You don't know
Nobody.
you can't, necessarily know what to say to that. Everybody's different. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I try my best, and try and spread what I needed to everybody else.
Do you find it easy to help others?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. See, but a thing about me, honestly, is I've always been the little helper. I've always wanted to better other people. I don't know if it stemmed from me craving that for so long, that that I needed that. But
Remember
it's worked out.
Yeah, I remember the selfish part is I do this because I'm selfish and I like to help other people because it makes me feel good.
Exactly.
I think growing up that comes from a lot of insecurities of you want to give others what you didn't have.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I think that goes with parenting as well.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter's actually going to be in here later. We're going to do she just turned 18. I've had a harder time parenting in the last 30 days since she's been 18 than I did the first 18 years.
Your daughter's
So-
18. Hold on. I need a second.
Yeah, that little baby. I got pictures of your kids jumping around the back of the limo that day too.
Yeah,
The
he's
time
taller
goes.
than me.
Yeah, time goes by fast. So you're helping some other people. You've got a great job. You've got a good support system. You've got some good mentors in your life, essentially, that are
Yes.
helping you.
Yeah.
And none of them are putting the world into you. You're doing the work.
Exactly.
They're just there when you know you need to lean on somebody. You
Yeah.
can in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, or to tell me when I'm, messing up.
Give you a little insight, right? And do tell me about the son now. So the day that we picked you up, and I keep
Uh-huh.
saying but Steve-O was there with me.
Yes.
And the day that we picked you up, I remember you saying to me, "All I want is my son back."
Yeah.
And I was a mess even thinking that you had any opportunity to get him back in the shape that you were in.
Yeah.
I felt so bad because I felt bad on one hand. On the other hand, I see this continuously, and I'm thinking, you're absolutely insane. Like, you're not getting him back, right?
Right.
And you proved me wrong for sure. You
Yeah.
fought it, you did it, you got him back, and obviously I wanted you to. I just didn't see a path to it, and you got through it. And now
Yeah.
he's how old?
He is 13 currently. He'll be 14 in June. Now, I don't drive due to my PTSD and everything. He lives in Overton, so seeing him isn't necessarily easy. So it goes months, without us. But we text each other. I video call him. Tell him have a good day at school. I love you.
Right.
Told him Happy Valentine's Day. It's the first little boy that stole my heart. He's my angel.
Yeah.
And he's turned out so much like me, It's insane. Things I hear in school, things I hear. It's like, oh, history repeating itself. Oh, geez.
Well, it may just be genetic. There's a lot
He's,
of
yeah.
science evolving right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And he's just an angel. He plays baseball.
And that brings you much joy.
Yes. He has games out here, and if he has a game out here, I don't miss a game. I'm there, cheering him on. You know, I'm lucky. He's a good kid.
You're lucky,
He's a good
but you're
kid.
also extremely strong.
Oh yeah.
I forgot the details in most of your story, and you probably gave us about 1/10 of, I think, what
Oh,
you've
yeah.
told me.
I covered a lot.
Yeah, and for you to be sitting here enjoying this life, having overcome all of that, I would definitely say that you have the ability to help more than most. You also have a level of credibility having overcome it. That's
Yeah.
helpful when someone looks to you. I remember that was what helped me in the beginning, was when I was working with the youth at a young age. I could associate with what they were going through. Had been
Yeah.
through some of it. There's quite a few organizations that turned me down to work with them
Mhm.
because I do have a past. I have a history, a conviction, a felony.
Mhm.
I couldn't work with the organizations because of my past, when in reality I think that
That's what they need.
past is sometimes what helps,
Yeah.
is listening and having someone there, like you said. So
Yeah.
I can appreciate that as well. So what would you say if there's 16 to 25-year-old young women out there struggling with exactly what you went through? And I can't say exactly what you went through, but are going through similar things. What was the turning moment for you? Like, what was the deciding factor, even with nobody, for you to just stop?
The conversation with
With
that
the girl you told me about. And
that
this was just a no,
she-
don't even know who she is?
I know who she
Okay.
is.
All right.
We're still friends. She had been through tremendous amount of things.
Was she older than you?
Much older.
Got it.
She was in her 30s, I believe,
So
at
what'd you-
that time. Maybe end of her 20s, somewhere around there. She told me, she goes, I'm out here doing what I do
Yeah.
because I'm masking something.
Right.
What are you? You gotta look inside you and find out what you're doing it for. Now, not everybody's the same. Not everybody that gets high or uses a substance is masking something. Some
Right.
of them are spoiled, rotten, rich kids that just want to get high. Now, that's a whole different thing. And and even them, they have to find out why they're getting high. Is it because they want to?
Yeah.
Is it because they have an addictive personality, or is it because they were a sad girl like me?
Yeah, everybody's covering something.
Exactly. And everybody, has to find out what it is for them.
Right.
And once they find out what it is for them, and they start to mend that will eventually get better. And my main thing, and I'll say it over and over, I've said it a few times, and it's I ask them two questions. Well, I ask them a question, I tell them one thing. I ask them, are you done yet? You tired?
Yeah.
You tired yet? Like, what? What's she talking about? She's crazy. No, you have to be tired. You have to be done. And people don't understand that, and there's more to that than just the word done. Just the word, are you tired? And you have to change your people, places, and things.
Right.
The people you surround yourself with, the places that you associate yourself with, and the things you're doing. As long as you change those things, the sky's the limit. I threw myself into work, and I had wealthy bosses, and they, showed me I could do things. They were all going out and, well, why can't I? Why can't, and I was thinking, what the heck,
So essentially you're saying hang out with Batman, not the
Yes.
bad man.
Yes. And I do
Show-
want the world to know why I call you Batman.
Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Exactly. Batman is my favorite superhero. Simply because he's real. You have all your superheroes that have these magical powers. Superman, he could fly and he could see through blah, blah, blah. Okay, Batman was a kid that got dealt a shitty hand. His parents were murdered when
Yeah.
he was a kid, and he watched it.
Right.
And then he grew up, and he had a lot of money, and he had a badass car, and he decided he was going to help people, and it didn't benefit him to be
Right.
Batman. I mean, he didn't even want Bruce Wayne didn't even want anybody to know it was him.
Right.
He did it without the clout, without the look at me, you know, and that's what you've done. That's what you have done. You showed up in a fancy car, and you didn't benefit from helping me. It didn't cost you nothing. It cost you, but it didn't benefit.
I hear you.
It didn't benefit you to help me. It cost you to help me, to be honest. And it didn't faze you. You just did it to do it. And you're Batman. And that's your name on my phone, and you'll forever be Batman because you help other people.
I
You are a
appreciate that.
vigilante.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
It's done a lot for me, and it continues to do plenty for me. And just seeing you succeed is more reward than I can ever imagine. And it's, working with you and many others, it's helped me raise daughters in a different way than I probably would have had I not
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
there's been so much that I've garnered from this entire experience. I will never in my life stop mentoring, ever. It is too insightful. You learn too much. The human kindness aspect of it and the human connection, right? We didn't know each other,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter. So I just want to say that unless you have anything else you want to give the world, I'm going to wrap this up. But I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud of you. And you always know I'm a phone call away, and anybody else on the team is a phone call away. You know that there's a lot of people around.
Yes.
And thank you for coming in and doing this.
Thank you for having me.
And if you know of anybody that wants to come and speak and has a story, or we invite your bosses on here because he sounds like one amazing guy I'd like to meet, maybe even a couple of them.
Yeah.
Be up for that as well too.
Okay. I will have to definitely get on
Yeah. And
to
you
them
just
about
keep
that
doing
and see
you.
if they- Yeah.
All right, Bri. Let's cut it.